There's always a third person in the story, an ex, a coworker, a friend they just happened to bring up at exactly the right moment. Suspiciously right. And every time it happens, something in your chest tightens. You tell yourself it's nothing. It happens again by Thursday. That feeling has a name, and it isn't jealousy in the way you think. Today we're breaking down exactly how it works, and why it's rarely actually about the third person at all. It's called triangulation, and the core of it is simple. A third person gets introduced into a relationship not to connect, but to run a comparison test on you without your consent. Psychologist Dr. Ramani Durvasula, who has written extensively on narcissistic relationships, describes triangulation as one of the most reliable ways a manipulator keeps someone off balance. Reliable like a subscription you never signed up for. Off balance is the key word. When you're busy comparing yourself to someone else, you stop paying attention to whether the actual relationship is any good. Sneaky. Very sneaky. Let's look at the three most common forms this takes, starting with the one that gets all the movie plots: romantic jealousy. An ex gets mentioned a little too often. A coworker's name comes up with a little too much warmth. Nothing said is technically wrong. The timing, though, has never once been an accident. The goal isn't actually the other person. The goal is watching you try a little harder, ask a few more questions, become a little more anxious to please. It's a performance review you never applied for. The second form is quieter, and it usually starts in childhood: family comparison. Why can't you be more like your sibling? A sentence roughly 90% of humanity is still in therapy over. That comparison teaches something dangerous early. Love and approval are a competition, and there's always someone else you're measured against. Nobody explained the scoring system, but everyone somehow knew the stakes. And once that pattern is set, it becomes familiar. As an adult, a relationship that constantly compares you to someone else can feel oddly, uncomfortably like coming home. The third form shows up at work. Workplace triangulation. A manager praises one coworker directly in front of you, specifically to see how you respond. It's basically corporate theater, and you didn't audition for a part. It's designed to make you quietly compete for approval instead of comparing notes with your coworker, because two people comparing notes might notice the pattern and ruin the whole show. In all three forms, romantic, family, workplace, the mechanism is identical. A third point gets introduced so you stop looking directly at the person actually doing the comparing. So why does it work even on people who understand exactly what's happening? Because comparison isn't a choice your brain makes. It's closer to a reflex, a dumb, ancient reflex. Humans evolved in small groups where social standing genuinely affected survival. Losing status once meant real danger. Your brain still reacts like a saber-toothed tiger is somehow involved. Knowing it's a manipulation tactic doesn't switch that reflex off. It just means you now get a vote on what you do with the reaction once your inner caveman has finished panicking. And here's the part that keeps people stuck longer than they'd like to admit. You start performing for approval without even realizing rehearsals have begun. You dress a little differently. You bring up achievements you'd normally never mention out loud. Small adjustments, each aimed at winning a competition you never actually agreed to enter. Over time, this is exhausting in a very specific way. You're not just tired from the relationship, you're tired from a competition that was rigged before you even walked in. And it isolates you in a quieter way than you'd expect. Because the moment you try to say the feeling out loud, it can sound small, petty even, which is deeply unfair given the sheer effort involved. They just mentioned a friend, that's all. Said out loud, sure, it sounds like nothing. Lived through on a loop for 2 years, it's an entirely different documentary. So let's talk about what actually helps. 3 ways to step out of the triangle instead of just redecorating it. Step 1. Refuse the comparison frame entirely. When a third person gets introduced, name it internally. This is a comparison, not this is a fact about my worth. Same energy as reading the terms and conditions. That single reframe interrupts the automatic reflex. You're no longer reacting to the comparison, you're just noticing calmly that someone attempted one. Points for effort, 0 points for effectiveness. Step 2. Stop performing for approval. That means noticing the small adjustments, the extra effort, the mentioned achievement, and asking honestly who they're actually for. If the honest answer is to win a comparison I never agreed to, that's your cue to stop, even if the performing urge doesn't clock out on time. Step 3. Build validation sources outside the relationship. Friendships, hobbies, work you're proud of, places where your worth was never up for a vote in the first place. The wider that circle gets, the less power any single triangle has over you. One person mentioning someone else stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like small talk you can shrug off. This video describes patterns, not diagnoses. It isn't a tool for labeling a specific person in your life with certainty, even the one who mentions their gym trainer a suspicious amount. If a pattern like this feels familiar in your own relationships, the most reliable next step is talking with a licensed therapist who can look at your specific situation directly. So back to where we started. The dinner table, the mentioned name, the tightening in your chest. That feeling was never petty. It was your nervous system correctly clocking a comparison it was never supposed to have to compete in. And honestly, your nervous system deserves a raise. You were never actually in competition with anyone. You just needed to stop standing inside a triangle someone else kept drawing around you, over and over, like a very bad tattoo artist. If this helped you name something you've felt but never had words for, tell us in the comments. Which form hit closest to home? Romantic, family, or workplace? No wrong answers, except pretending it was none of them. Subscribe for more psychology breakdowns every week. Understanding the pattern is how you stop competing in a game you never signed up to play and never even wanted the trophy for.